So how real is this threat, not just for the northern United States, where some 55 million people live, but also for the rest of the world in places like India, Malawi, and the Philippines? Michael Dorsey joins us from Detroit. He's the director of Dartmouth College's Climate Justice Research Project. He's also a member of the Environmental Protection Agency's National Advisory Committee. So you heard the question, how concerned should we be?
Mike, I think we should be very, very concerned about this problem unfolding. It's a problem that not only faces Americans, it faces and confronts and afflicts the lives of people around the world. It's a problem that especially affects those on the margins of society. Those on the margins are harmed first and most by these catastrophic storm events. They also pay the price in terms of their livelihoods because they have less livelihood to put towards these catastrophic problems. It's a problem that I think we need to get ahead of, and we are trying to get ahead of at the multilateral level. It's a problem that we need to think seriously about in this country and open up a national dialogue that we don't yet have.
And Michael, we've heard for years about how climate change is really to blame for these types of storms. I want to play for you a couple of sound bites. First from the United States President Barack Obama at his inauguration, that was back in January, and the second from the United Nations Weather Organization.
We will respond to the threat of climate change, knowing that the failure to do so would betray our children and future generations. Some may still deny the overwhelming judgment of science, but none can avoid the devastating impact of raging fires and crippling drought and more powerful storms.
The decade 2001-2010 was the warmest on record, continuing the trend of global warming. More temperature records were broken than in any other previous decade.
So Michael, if you can, briefly explain how climate change is linked to this severe weather.
Mike, one of the things that we know is that the intensity and rapidity of these storms, not just like Sandy, but around the world, the intensity is directly related to the increasing overall average mean temperature on the planet. So the fact is that we can say is that the more intense storms we see are a derivative of the warming climate that we see on the planet. The fact is that the president has done more than any other president, but that's really a commentary on what more needs to be done. We need to do a tremendous amount of things to get out ahead of this problem. And the first things that we can think about doing is reducing the subsidies that we pay to those polluters that are driving this problem in the first place. We need to begin a process to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies. Why should Americans move taxpayer dollars to some of the most profitable corporations on the planet when we could be putting those monies to protect and save affected communities like those in the tri-state area in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut? Why do we need to move monies to those polluters that are driving this problem? We need to get out of fossil fuel subsidies and move monies into communities that are affected by these problems.
Michael, you're on top of this stuff, so this might not surprise you, but I think it would surprise a lot of our viewers. Last year, nearly 15,000 new daily temperature records were set across the world. How warm will the Earth get, and what impact is that going to have on our everyday lives?
Well, it's having an impact already. What we're seeing is an increasing number of fatalities. The United Nations tracks climate-related weather deaths. They put those numbers at roughly about a few 100,000 a year. There's controversy over those numbers, but we're seeing communities affected in catastrophic ways from this, not just from intense storms, but we're seeing them affected in terms of health, in terms of livelihoods, in terms of their actual pocketbooks. Tremendous effects.
Michael Dorsey joining us live from Detroit. Thanks so much.